but I've just kind of, like I said, I've tried many different things. I went to school in Chicago. I lived out there for a little while. I traveled a lot before kids, and then I had three amazing teenagers, and they have been my whole world. Went through surviving domestic violence, raising my kids on my own, starting new businesses, closing new businesses, just evolving over the years. And I tell people that once I hit my 40s, I'm 42, I'll be 43 this year. It's been probably the most exhilarating years of my life so far. Like, I feel more confident as a woman in my 40s. I have cared less about what other people think and getting their approval, and cared more about, is God happy with what I'm doing in my life? Am I making a difference in the world? Am I going to leave a legacy? So my whole platform is mental health awareness, to encourage people to know their worth, and to live in their mind, body, and soul balanced, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of that. So, and I do love to be able to spotlight other people that are doing things in the community, making a difference in the world, because it's not just about my story, it's about sharing other people's stories too.
This year has been nothing short of unique. Between exploring the virtual landscape and navigating new needs, business has done the extraordinary. Though some still struggle, we have expanded our reach, pivoted our resources to serve the public, and developed innovations to support this newly modified territory of business culture. Yet so much ahead still awaits us, from this year's unsolved challenges to future curveballs no one sees coming. Will we unite and lift one another up, or is hope for that already gone? In GritCON, we have decided to band together more fiercely than ever. There is hope, and we will not be put down. Join us as we overcome our situations and step into the light.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of GritCON Expandcast, Season 2, Episode 5. And we have a great guest with us today. That's Heather Marie. And I'm very excited for this. There's many things that are there's first times for our podcast here. But before we begin, I'd like to give a word to our sponsors. thank you to our sponsors very much. We couldn't do the show without them and their financial support. But again, we're back with Heather Marie, and I'd like to basically share with you a little bit about her. I know we have a lot of multipreneurs here in our podcast, myself being one of them, like the serial entrepreneurship thing. But Heather Marie's biography just goes on for a bit. I mean, she's a Jane of all. Am I saying this right?
Yeah, Jane of all trades,
Jane,
master of none.
yeah, Jane of all, Jane of all skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. So I'm going through this. This is amazing. She's the owner of Queen Bee and Co. Tea, tea room.
It's an English tea room. We do events there as well. So
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah, English tea room. Where she has events and everything. She has a single out on Spotify, I believe on iTunes as well.
It's on all the streaming platforms now.
Wow. Yeah, called Fairy Tale. We'll probably
Yes.
give a little sampling of that here soon. And then she's a host of Heather Marie Speaks, which she has her own talk show. I guess you can find on Facebook and YouTube and everything. She's also every Thursday she's on the mic with Mike on WJFN 100.5 FM and 8:20 AM here in the local area, Fredericksburg, Richmond, Petersburg area.
Yeah.
And she also, I've been a participant in her community spotlight. She literally goes around with her camera and her lights and her microphone and interviews businesses all around Richmond and maybe even DC and such.
Yeah.
So, so that's just probably just a tip of the iceberg. I'm excited for her to tell her story and what she has going on here, and how she's like that. I mean, one of the perfect guests for GritCON. So,
Oh, thank you.
so tell us a bit about yourself, your background, and everything.
I'm super excited to be here. So thank you so much for having me. It's definitely an honor to be a part of this with you. But it's just been, my life has been a mixture of many different things. I call it like a bouquet. And I've started to realize that when people ask me what I do, it becomes overwhelming for them to take all of it in. Because I do so much, and it's a lot to explain. So I've decided, kind of like the Secret Service agents do. They just say that they're like a specific trade. I'm just going to start saying I'm in business operations.
Wow.
It'll keep things simple, but yeah, I've done a lot of different things. God kind of created me to be a woman that is a Jane of all trades. I've tried things to see if I can do it, and I've succeeded. So it's there's not a whole lot that scares me out there, except for snakes. I don't like snakes, but there are so many different things that I've really enjoyed. I'm kind of a half business-oriented woman and half creative arts woman. I came from two parents that were in the theater arts district. They met in Broadway doing Jesus Christ Superstar. So my joke is my dad was Jesus, my mom was Mary on stage. But they were married short period of time, 3 years, and then they separated and found their person, which was great because my dad ended up marrying a British woman. So we spent our summers in England, and my mom ended up marrying somebody that was in her band, and we spent our school year in the States. So I had two sets of parents, but we were always on the move, always on the go. So I think just from being young and growing up in an environment that there was constant activity, that's kind of just what I morphed into, is constant activity, and I was okay with it. But I've just kind of, like I said, I've tried many different things. I went to school in Chicago. I lived out there for a little while. I traveled a lot before kids, and then I had three amazing teenagers, and they have been my whole world. Went through surviving domestic violence, raising my kids on my own, starting new businesses, closing new businesses, just evolving over the years. And I tell people that once I hit my 40s, I'm 42, I'll be 43 this year, it's been probably the most exhilarating years of my life so far. Like, I feel more confident as a woman in my 40s. I have cared less about what other people think and getting their approval, and cared more about, is God happy with what I'm doing in my life? Am I making a difference in the world? Am I going to leave a legacy? So my whole platform is mental health awareness, to encourage people to know their worth, and to live in their mind, body, and soul balanced, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of that. So, and I do love to be able to spotlight other people that are doing things in the community, making a difference in the world, because it's not just about my story, it's about sharing other people's stories too. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's a lot.
Yes, it is. It is. Well, I tell you, it's almost like hearing almost a lot of pieces of the GritCon story in general. And GritCon is a community.
Yeah.
And interesting, it's almost like you have this community story within your own story. And that's a beautiful thing, I think, that we're looking forward to exploring more with you here on this podcast and everything.
Yeah, thank you.
and there's so many layers that I think are helpful for our business audience. You know, and entrepreneurship in itself is a challenge,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you've gone through a lot of personal challenge in your life. Sounds like
Absolutely. Yeah.
not only being a mother, but being, I guess you could say, a survivor,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not even guess. It is, you are a survivor.
Yeah, it's like one of my counselors actually just told me a few years ago that I am like a professional survivor. They've never seen someone go through so much and survive and come out of the ashes like a phoenix in real life.
Yeah.
And I said, I can't give myself the credit. It really truly is that I have a God that has a purpose and a destiny for my life, that I truly believe that I'm just meant to do more. So that's why I'm still here. So,
Wow.
yeah.
And it's encouraging to hear that, someone that overcame so much wants to share the strength of the experience and coming out of that.
Yeah.
And we have a military audience. Some of their combat related, or even just sexual assault related,
Yeah.
or whatever it might be, as survivorship. And I do consider it survivorship because you could have actually died.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Or in the other sense that, somewhere along the lines, I've lost two friends in the last 2 years
Mm.
to suicide.
Yeah.
And so, maybe in that self, what the story of what happened in the past has caught up with them.
Absolutely.
And
And if they don't deal with it too, that's the hard part. I'm also
Yeah.
on the committee for the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, the mental health in our military, because we were losing so many veterans. They saw my platform and asked if I would be on board to help and just figure out a way to collaborate with other people. And that's what it's all about, is collaborating with people instead of competing.
Yeah.
My platform isn't better than someone else's. It's everybody's platform coming together to make a difference and help people that are struggling, because our military they're protecting our country,
Yes.
and we're not doing anything to help them. So it's important to me to definitely speak to our military as well, so we can help save lives.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Saving lives is incredibly important, and I've seen what you've done with several different organizations already from your resume, and even in person when I met you a few months ago.
Yeah.
It's amazing how you put that forward in front of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You put mental health awareness and suicide prevention and the concept of community ahead of yourself, and it's just the first thing that people see when they meet you in person.
Yeah.
They see this personality on radio, and it's great, and a big smile, and a gorgeous personality, in addition to
Thank you.
gorgeous, physical features that you have.
Thank you.
But at the same time, you use all of your talents to be of value to other people. It's a beautiful thing.
It wasn't always like that.
Yeah.
When you're younger, you lack confidence, and you lack the security in who you are. And I think people are surprised too that anytime that I'm out there speaking, like even when I was with Runway to Life, I didn't get paid for any of that stuff. It's part of my heart's passion. I do things out of donating my time and my energy, because I don't have millions of dollars to be able to donate to organizations. I use what I have. And so often we have what we need
Yeah.
to make a difference. It's just using what you have. You don't have to go out there and be a millionaire. You don't have to have all of these different resources. Just use what you have. Sometimes your story is the one thing that just makes the biggest impact. But being willing to be used as a vessel to help other people, that's where my heart is.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's incredible. I love that. And I think you just got a lot of dynamics here. So I think I'm a person that takes some of my ideas and passion,
Yeah.
and then I turn them into businesses and value for other people,
Yeah.
to make a purchase. But also you're talking about the dynamics of how you give of yourself in different ways. So it's not just the transactional money, and don't get me wrong, big part of GritCon is the financial impact and how it can help the
Absolutely.
economy. But also too, let's be honest, entrepreneurship is a self-improvement program.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the biggest probably self-improvement program you can probably get in our modern era, in our society right now, in Western civilization. And it's just I love to slice these pieces that you have here and understand the dynamics of it.
Yeah.
But I want to mention that on the front end too, that mental health awareness and everything too. So I definitely think this is not only the first time we're going to have a discussion with you.
Absolutely. More than happy to talk about it. It's
Yes.
mental health awareness. I
Yeah.
call it a fashion-infused mental health advocate, because
Okay.
I'm involved so much in RVA Fashion Week and Runway to Life, and there were different things that I've done throughout my whole life, whether it was modeling, acting, singing. There was a fashion aspect to it. So I try to give that aspect into an easier conversation
Yes.
to have about mental health. And so
Yes.
many people that are actors, singers, in the theater struggle with mental health as well. It's all about, again, you've got to be beautiful on the inside to be able to shine on the outside. So it took me a while to get to that point where I could really truly be authentically whole on the inside to shine on the outside, and that's what I want other people to be able to thrive in as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and we find that in entrepreneurship and artistry. It's interesting. We have a lot of creative entrepreneurs in
Mm-hmm.
our audience, and that concept, we think about a lot of society thinks about artists as kind of like this dark thing,
Yeah.
painters and everything. But there's a light side and there's also a dark side too. Don't get me wrong, but there's also kind of patterning it together to work on the
Yeah.
mind, body, spirit, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I the that our audience identifies with, definitely me, and I'm sure my story is not singular when it comes to business entrepreneurship, is that you have that highs and lows that happen in business anyway,
Yeah.
just naturally. It's just like, yay, high peaks and then low
Mm-hmm.
downloads, and it's the business related. It's not you, it's the business related.
Yeah.
It could be like we just had snow here
Mm-hmm.
recently. It could be farm crops. It could be supply chains. It could be COVID-19 related. People are just not showing up to my retail business or
Yeah.
restaurant. And so there's the ups and downs of business that happen a lot, and it's almost like this, not even a sine wave, it's just these spikes up and down.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is we as entrepreneurs tend to think, new entrepreneurs tend to think, oh my God, that's my fault. They internalize, oh my God, my business is failing because I suck or
Yeah.
something
The
like that.
self blame.
Yeah, and I'd love for you to kind of walk us through maybe understanding that, kind of separating yourself from the process in a little
Yeah,
bit.
absolutely. I just actually gave it's Monday, so I
Mm-hmm.
try to give a word of encouragement. And
Mm-hmm.
I used to do them every single week. I was really consistent, but because I'm juggling so many things, I'll just do a quick post. But today's post was about ruling your environment, ruling your day.
Mm-hmm.
We have control over our thoughts and actions. We don't have control over what happens around us or what happens in the environment, with COVID and things like that, or how other people treat us for that matter. But we do have control over our thoughts and actions, even though people sometimes struggle with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people need help because they've got a mental illness or they're
Yeah.
struggling with mental health issues to begin with. And then
Yeah.
there's, that action that you need to take to go get the help that you need because you can't fix it yourself.
Yeah.
But when you really just go into a state of mind, I tell people first thing in the morning, you have to have a moment to just capture your thoughts. We're in control of our thoughts and really just set your mindset in a place that is ruling over your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Our emotions are fickle and they will fool us.
Yeah.
And they change daily. They change sometimes momentarily.
Yeah.
So we have to be really self aware and emotionally intelligent enough to grasp that we're going to have weaknesses in us. It doesn't make us bad, but we are imperfect humans. So nothing that we do is something to blame for our environment as far as entrepreneurship. There are things that happen that are out of our control, but what do we have control over to make it better?
Yeah.
Well, we can change our thought process. Maybe today didn't have the greatest sales, but let's see what we have to use to be able to make tomorrow a better day.
Yeah.
Let's make the most of what we're doing today and maybe start more marketing or do something that you can monetize because monetary is important. But do something that you can monetize. What do you have control over? What do you have that you can use today? And just make the most of your day so that you're ruling your day and not letting the circumstances rule your day. So
Absolutely.
that was kind of my nugget of mental health encouragement for people for today. And it's something that I do every day. Again, don't grab your phone first thing in the morning. Get your mindset right over your emotions. Don't pull in things that are negative, whether it's the news, whether it's people, whether it's your environment. Stay out of those things. It's like getting yourself into a pit.
Yep.
Rise higher. You have to hang out with eagles.
Yep.
I have chickens on my farm. I'm not hanging out with my chickens.
Yes.
I want to see what's flying above.
Yes.
It's like go to the higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. There's many different pieces I can probably digest on what you're saying. A lot of that also has to do is, yes, understand that you are responsible for yourself and you dictate your own thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
At the same time, there are other factors outside of your business that are, be honest, is beyond your control.
Absolutely.
And live with that, understand that really in the process, I believe everybody with your businesses, that the process is your business and how you handle it and how you build that grit or that stamina or everything is probably more important over time than it is, okay, I got this many sales and my graphs and charts do this, at least in the early days.
Yeah.
Over a period of time. It becomes important later, I think, in a business process for scaling. But getting yourself right for business is probably the part that's more important than anything else on the startup process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I'm going to actually jump around my questions here because we're just addressing it so much. Let's address this: mind, body, soul, and spirit, and those four dynamics there. Because I see you on like a social media in the gym with your hat and
Yes.
everything, and working out, and I also see you doing great things spiritually, also, mental advocacy. So I like to
Hmm.
see that mind body. So is that really that helps you get through a lot of things?
Yeah, it's the Trinity. It's we have to be balanced in all
Hmm.
three areas in order to really function. And if one is off balance,
Hmm.
everything will feel off balance. So we only are given one body. We're
Hmm.
given one life.
Hmm.
So we've got to use the best of it. And I've been in those states of mind in my life, and especially as a woman, where you get off track and you maybe stop working out as often and you maybe stop eating as healthy as you should.
Hmm.
Your body feels it. And as you get older, your body really feels it.
Hmm.
And it's harder to get that weight off.
Yes.
So it's important to have intentional time management and to
Yes.
fit that in, not just for your body to feel better, but for you actually to live longer. Like
Hmm.
it's part of working out actually helps your mental health too. But it's starting with the mind first thing in the morning. Again, your mindset. May your mindset always be greater than your emotions is what my like wish to everybody is. Getting your mind right, filling it with encouragement. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Oftentimes on a daily basis, I'm listening to something, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a service, whether it's a message, whether it's somebody that is Denzel Washington that's got a YouTube thing and he's just encouraging people. But you want to constantly fill that mind with positive, encouraging things. If you start your day listening to the news first thing in the morning, your day is going to suck.
Yeah.
It's going to be full of worry, anxiety, all the negative things that are going on. And
Yeah.
nothing against the newscasters that are out there. They're doing their job. I get it. But I tend to purposely and intentionally live in a bubble of I know there's stuff going on out there, but I'm not filling my mind with it. I'm just not. That's putting garbage into my brain instead of healthy things.
Yes.
So I start my day with my mindset and getting it right.
Yep.
Then I try to make sure that I get to the gym during the week, again, for my body to make sure I live longer, to take care of the vessel I've been given. And then spiritually, you have to have a higher power than yourself. And I never push my religion on other people, but people know I'm a woman of faith. I believe in God. I talk to him regularly. I talk to him daily. I have people ask me, how do you talk to God? Well, I talk to him just like I'm talking to you. I feel like that's my creator. That's what I believe in.
Yep.
And so to me, he's my provider.
Yep.
He's the one that fills voids that I've got. If I'm struggling with something, he's the one that helps. Ultimately, I believe that he's in control of everything. So as much as I can try to control my life, he's laughing at me up there. It's like, no, I've got you on my path and you've got a destiny. So I trust the process with that. And I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe in God. He's definitely helped me to live and thrive in my life and shine. But those are the kind of the trinity of the three things that balance me. And to be authentic. For years, I wore a mask of confidence because I didn't want people to see that I was struggling or that I felt damaged. So I would fake it until I make it. And you hear that all the time. You can't fake it until you make it because then you start to believe your own fakeness.
Yeah.
And you have to be authentic and transparent. You have to communicate with people.
Yes.
And you never know when you're having a conversation with someone how your story can help them, or they can feel comfortable enough after you share for them to share their story with you. And different things that they say will kind of trigger different things in your life that you go, oh, well, here's somebody I can either relate to. They've given me advice on something that I didn't even know, or they've encouraged you.
Yes.
So to communicate, collaborate, and being part of the community are my three C's.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
My goodness. And this is there's a lot of that we're trying to develop even further. GritCon, I could see it could be a bigger audience
Yeah.
and reach more people. And those stories have actually been a fiber of what we've been trying to do here. We've had a near-death survivor on the very first stage.
Yeah.
We've had a young man with a rare form of dwarfism on our
Wow.
stage. We've had people of different nationalities and races and religions and everything together, and having that unified community kind of admiration for the things that work. We're seeing in GritCon that we're starting to see a little bit of a trend. The grit is built upon having a right with your mind body, what you take in from your not only your body but also your mind, but also the actions you have both physically, working out and everything too, and also working out your actions and understanding transparency and a bunch of other pieces, and
Yeah.
also distancing yourself. And even GritCon is doing that, where we distance ourselves from the really the unauthentic. And it is something that happens in the business entrepreneur education spaces, which we're in, where that's that poser kind of mentality and everything too, and inauthenticity, and then trying to struggle to try to present to an audience that it is and it's not. Yeah.
It's not. And
Yeah.
I've talked about that before too, where you have people in your life that are constituents that are there just to gain from whatever you can give them.
Yeah.
And those are not people that are for you, but they'll be there during a season of your life.
Yeah.
And then there are confidants that are people that are going to be part of your life and cheer you on whether you're winning or losing, but they are there with you and they're part of your tribe and they're part of your team.
Yes.
And in life, you have to have both.
Yeah.
You have to have constituents and confidants because that's what kind of guides you. It's part of the Judas kiss.
Yes.
If Judas hadn't kissed Jesus, he wouldn't have been able to die on the cross for our sins. So it's things like that where you have to just trust that all things are used for good when you're doing the right thing, do unto others how you want them to do to you. But definitely guard your heart and guard your space so that you're not letting toxic people in. You have to be very careful on and who you're listening to and who you're spending time with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's where we think the advocacy, having an advocate in business.
Yes.
You know, having maybe say mentors or people that have been down the roads that you've been down, you know, that you're intending to go down. Hey, I do this for my two mentors. I have one male, one female. And I asked them, okay, I am traveling down a road that I know you've traveled down.
Yeah.
And could you help me understand? Because I know all I see is darkness down this path. I can't see what's going to happen. I see fog or darkness, whichever.
Yeah.
You shine the light down the path that I'm about to travel down. Oh, yes, this is what I've encountered.
Yeah.
Whichever it is. And it gives you that security. It's like, okay, yes, I got some helping hand, but kind of balancing it because I think it's been addressed at GritCON before. How much is a helping hand too much? And then at the same time, you still got to be able to be, you know, handle things on your own.
Well, yeah, you can make your own decisions, but part of me sharing some of my stories of what's worked and what hasn't worked is to allow people to not make the same mistakes that I did. You know, it saves them time, heartache, money, and to be able to share this didn't work, but guess what? This did. And then leave that for them to decide on their own. You know, what are they going to do? And some people will be stubborn and still try it their way and fail, but failures teach us. So it's important for us to fail at things in life too. I'm far from perfect, and it's the first thing I tell people. I am the last person that you need to look at as a perfect person because I'm flawed just like every other human. But I've gone through things and overcome them. So maybe something I share with you, whether it's me talking to my kids or talking to a friend, will help you. But you got to be willing to listen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I love everything that's being shared here, and we do this at every show. So hopefully. And we always try to think of one situation where in business, where it didn't work out. Something was that the forces of nature, whatever it might have been, and it could have been a fail, considered a fail, and how you were able to overcome it. Is there any particular story that you remember?
Oh gosh, there's many. I had a boutique at one point in time when I moved out here. I've done property management for most of my career, property management and operations management.
Okay.
But at one point I was also, my side hustle was wedding and event planning.
Okay.
And so I had opened up a boutique. My creative side loves to be able to bring things back to life again, like old things that maybe someone would discard. I can see beauty in it, and I bring it back to life and refinish it or work it into some sort of piece of art. So I had a French European boutique that I refinished antiques, but I also had pieces that were really cool vintage European pieces that people used for their wedding decor. And so I also did my wedding consultations out of that space, and I loved it. It was my happy place. It was definitely a beautiful place, but it was multifunctional. You know, I could sell things and also operate out of there. And during that period of time, I was married and my husband had lost his job. And so all the benefits left. You know, I was still bringing in income, but I needed something that was like, I had to be the main breadwinner again. And so I had to close the store. It was an ultimate decision that I tried to do working and keep it open at the same time, and it just didn't work. And so I had to make that decision, you know, do I close this down and, you know, either look at it reopening again later on, or do I just leave it? And I just decided that it was time for me to shut it down and focus on, you know, caring for my family's needs because they came first. And so started working again. And that was many, many years ago. But the cool thing about that was a lot of the pieces in my boutique, I ended up giving to the tea room that was in Amelia originally as their like small little gift shop. And I told her, anything you sell, take 50% and put it in towards, they were renovating an old church. And I said, just put that towards there. And that way I'm contributing towards you bringing this church back to life. And many, many years ago, never looked back, just kind of kept doing things. And I still did a few weddings and events on the side. Well, 2021 comes along, and in 2020, at the end of it, I heard that the tea room was going to close. Unfortunately, the woman that had bought it from Beth originally and Amelia, her husband had passed away, and it was a struggle for her. She didn't have time to mourn. She was struggling to keep it open, and she was going to close it down. And I'm like, don't close it down. Let's figure out a way that maybe I can help promote it so someone else can come along.
Yeah.
Well, it kept coming to my path again, and I'm like, God, what is this? I'm not trying to buy a tea room right now in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
But it was just like it kept coming to my forefront, and I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to do anything with this? Well, I ended up collaborating with the owner to figure out a way to rebrand, purchase the tea room so that I could turn it into something more functional and monetize it better.
Wow.
In that tea room, she had purchased things from the other tea room that were from my store.
Your store.
So it circled right back around to me, and I had no idea. I mean, these were things that I had given up and just walked away from and just let go from years ago. And it just, to me, it was like God smiling at me and saying, you thought it was done, but this is the year of restoration. So that's been my word this year, is restoration. That anything that was kind of taken from me, whether it was fair or unfair, whether it was something I wanted or didn't want, it's all coming back tenfold.
Yeah.
So it's exciting for me to see things I had forgotten about once upon a time. And in business, you'll see that. You'll have dreams, businesses, things that maybe failed at one point, and it might not be over. It just was part of the season that you had to go through. And then you grow and you gain more knowledge, and then you're given another opportunity. Wow. So it's kind of cool that it's come back, and it wasn't part of my plan, but here I am, 2021, and I've got an English tea room again. So
Wonderful. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Literally.
And what's really cool about it is it's a great space for people to help kind of take that self-care pause for their mental health. Like they come in and they feel relaxed. They come in and they feel like they can close the rest of the chaos in the world out for a minute and just breathe and take care of their own mind. So to me, it all intertwines on my platform.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting how you, there's many different layers to that, but to take something that was from your past and how it benefited your, in a sense, now present and future, future then present, and then it just fed into what you're doing now in 2021 and restoration and everything too. It does remind me of my own photography experience with weddings and everything in Virginia Beach. Interesting, because we have this, for this audience here, we have this connection that's interesting. We're about the same age. We had these experiences of business in Virginia Beach.
Yeah.
And now we both live in Richmond, and we both have this military family kind of story and everything. It's kind of it's all intertwined.
Yeah.
But I shut down my business in 2012, and I took the equipment and put it on the shelf and let it collect dust. And 2016 came along, and I was like, blew the dust off, and like I'm ready to go back at this again. You know, and it's interesting how these weird little physical items from your past helped your future.
They do. They do. And I call them divine connections and divine interventions. You never know when it's going to happen, but, you just trust the process. So it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see what else, because, again, it's layers. And as we get older, different layers of different things that have kind of shaped us throughout our life will come back, or there'll be a new layer. So you just find out about yourself even more.
Wow. That's incredible. It's incredible. I love how, you just have this spirit of, taking things from the past that could have been either dark or whichever or productive, and then now just reformulating it for the betterment of not only yourself but the community as well.
Absolutely.
Wow. This Jane of all trades, I want to explore that further. That sounds a little bit fun, actually, to me.
Yeah.
So what would you say your skill sets are? I mean, would that take a whole another 45 minutes in itself? Or?
I'll give you a brief synopsis. So today, the storm that we just had, the ice storm. So I have a mini farm. I bought my first house in 2019. And it's kind of been one of those nicknames that I've had as Queen Bee. I had put Queen Bee on my license plate several years ago. And when I bought the house, I called it Queen Bee Cottage. So growing up in England, houses in England, people name them. My grandmother had the Lion Cottage, and she had about 2 acres, and it was a manicured garden. And I said, one day, when I have my own house and my own land, I want to have a manicured garden as well. And have always loved animals, loved seeing little farms. And so during the pandemic, I was like, you know what? Queen Bee Cottage is going to have a little mini farm. And so I started buying animals. Even my best friend didn't even know what was going on, because I'm kind of an outgoing introvert. I like to keep things to myself, and then they just kind of show up sometimes. But I started a little mini farm. I wanted to be self-sustaining, so we got chickens. We started planting things. I like to get my hands in the dirt, so sometimes in the morning I'll be in my farm gear, which is just like black workout clothes basically, but I've got my rubber boots on, and I'm out there in the dirt. I look like a hot mess, but from this storm that we just had, trees fell down in my yard, like huge, big trees. One actually fell right in the middle of the main road that gets to my house. And so someone came along, I'm guessing it was either the street workers or maybe the neighbor, and like sawed the tree in half so that it could clear the road. Well, they dumped it all in my front yard. And so then one of the big branches knocked my entire front fence down. So this morning I'm like, okay, well, I guess I got to do something about it. There's nobody else going to do it. So I went out there and started just hauling tree limbs away and taking the fence down and looking like a hot mess, feeding the animals in the mud. I mean, I was covered in dirt from head to toe. And then by the afternoon, I get dressed up and I'm, the other side of me. So I'm a half country girl, half city girl. You're either going to see me slugging in the mud or, dressing up and doing fashion shows. I mean, it's just kind of the best of both worlds. But that's part of my Jane of all trades. I do everything that I can myself first. If I need someone's help, then I'll hire someone to come in. But I figure there's YouTube. You can look up different things if you don't know how to do it. And then you can try to figure it out on your own. So being a single woman and a single parent and just kind of figuring out how to do things in life, you got to try it.
Yes.
Maybe you can do it. You might surprise yourself. So, yeah.
I love it. That's a lot of the self-employed entrepreneurship parts in itself is the figuring out yourself first.
Yeah.
And that's I highly encourage, there's times when experts are needed, but that might be part of your scaling process.
Yeah.
Understand, at least rudimentarily understand it. I have to know in my on my media agency, I literally had to learn every job, at least rudimentarily. And some things I excel at. I excelled at certain things I didn't think I would be, like data analytics. I'm like, oh my gosh. I remember one thing I hated to do in the military was data analytics. I'm like, please don't make me I would even plead with my superiors, please don't make me data mine. Please don't make me data mine. And then now I'm data mining for my business and then my others. I'm like, this is fun,
Yeah. Sometimes it changes things. I mean, it definitely does. And it's also part of just, figuring out who you are. You can definitely evolve over time. And, just like I try it and I might be able to do it. And sometimes I might not be able to do it, but at least you've tried. You put the effort in.
Yes, absolutely. And I tell you, I do want the audience to kind of share in this thing too with your music here. Your single just came out in the last few weeks. So let's actually listen to a piece of it.
Okay.
Now it's time for me to rebuild, loving me now that I'm healed. Maybe one day new love will come around, but I'm not gonna sit here doing nothing. It's time to make my own fairy tale. This kind of love that starts with loving me, the kind of love that makes you wanna believe. You have to be your own dream girl, your own dream boy.
Wow, that was a beautiful song.
Thank you.
I've listened to it a few times before even this podcast. So.
Thank you. Yeah, it's all about self-love and really learning how to love yourself before you can love anybody else, because you have to be you've got to be in a stable, balanced mind, lifestyle. I've seen people that have gone from one relationship to the next, kind of like serial entrepreneurs or serial daters or serial relationship people. And in the last 2 years, I really had to take time to be by myself. I tried to date in the summer and it just, I was proud of myself because I saw things that were out of balance and I stepped away from it. Whereas the old me would have stayed and tried to help or fix. I'm a very empathetic person and I want to be able to help influence and help encourage people. But I had to learn really the hard way through some of these domestic violence situations is that you can be a good influencer all day long, but you're not going to change someone if they don't want to change. Yeah. They have to want to change. And first and foremost, we're created and put on this earth to be servants and to serve other people. I get that. But my servant's heart sometimes is a weakness and a strength. I wear my heart on my sleeve, so I care and I love hard. But I have to still guard my heart and make sure that I am keeping myself whole. Like the airplane analogy, you've got to put that oxygen on yourself first. You got to love yourself first, and then you're able to really feel whole, and anyone else that comes along is just a bonus. They don't complete you. You should be able to complete yourself, and then someone else should be able to complement your life, to add to your life. If they're not adding to your life, they shouldn't be a part of your life. So that was kind of my gist of writing fairy tale, and just saying it was time to write my own fairy tale, that I didn't need a prince to save me. If a prince comes along and I find love again, great, but I needed to be whole on my own. So just encouraging other people, love yourself first and foremost.
Wow, that's an important message.
Yeah.
I can see that as part of my journey as well. That happens also not only in romantic relationships, but also in business relationships.
Absolutely.
I think even with sometimes it's interesting when you understand that a business partner or an associate or even a mentor
Mm-hmm.
is maybe appropriate one time, but maybe not anymore.
Yeah.
And even sometimes a client in a certain course of events, it's just like, hey, I feel like you could be better served by another entity, but in reality, you realize that this is so much of a part of yourself that you peacefully exit a client and service provider relationship.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had to do that in
Yeah.
life too. I've had to do
Yeah.
that with organizations and just
Mhm.
realize that my
Mhm.
season was
Mhm.
up.
Mhm.
There
Mhm.
are people, what do they say? You either have people in your life for a lifetime,
Yeah.
a season, or a
Yeah.
moment. But
Uh-huh.
any of those times that they're there, you can
Yeah.
still learn from it. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Absolutely. And this is really exploratory and it's actually getting to the meat and potatoes of how grit actually happens in business. So
Hmm.
this is very helpful for our audience. I really want them to participate in this too.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I think we covered like so much ground here. It's incredible. Some of the part that I want to maybe go in depth more about was about I guess we could go on maybe a little bit of this organic marketing side
Hmm.
because I see you seem to be doing that extremely well. And I've actually I do want to put this out to the audience. I call it organic laddering.
Yeah.
So I noticed you've associated yourself with multiple helpful brands, of
Hmm.
course, helpful brands, radio show, your own show, music, fashion, and everything too. Is that like a strategy? Is there something behind that, or is
I
that
did
just who
not
you are?
have, yeah, I did not have a plan for that. There are things that just kind of happen, and it's favor. I'm really thankful that I have God's favor in my life, that He'll put things in front of me or, involve me in different organizations. But it's also the only thing strategic about me is I try to constantly, again, surround myself with people that have been wiser, people that have gone through things that are over and above what I've gone through, so that you can learn, because you don't want to be the wisest person in the group. You always want to surround yourself with people that have experienced more. So I try to make sure that I'm in a tribe of people that are balanced. And I have friends from different generations too. I laugh. I've got friends that are in their 20s, friends that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. It's not just a clique of people that I feel like we're all the same. You've got to have, again, it's the bouquet. They're all different things and flowers that go into a beautiful arrangement to make it what it is. It's not just roses. It's not just the fillers. It's not just the big pops of color. It's everything comes together to make something beautiful. So collaborating in different ways, there's been opportunities that have come to me that I've said no to. And then there's other things that have come to me that I'm like, you know what, this would be great.
Yeah.
Recently, I just was asked to be the brand ambassador for Sense of Serenity Spa. And I tell people when I do things like that, I never promote or advertise for something that I don't believe in myself. Well, the spa is great for self-care, and for your mental health, you have to have days that you have self-care. Once a month at least, I'm doing something that's self-care, whether it's getting a massage, getting a facial, having time to just like get away for a minute. But Sense of Serenity was a wonderful place that had invited me to come and try their services. And, I was like, absolutely, I'll come see what you guys are about. And I loved it. And it really, truly helped me. I've traveled the world and I've gone to many different spas for a massage and a facial. Never in my life have I experienced something like they gave me. And so to me, I was like, but even before I was an ambassador, I was telling people, you've got to go try this place out. It's amazing. We can't travel right now very often like we can before. So you go there and you feel like you're going on a destination somewhere in the tropics. They've got the music, they've got the visual, they've got the sensual, so you can smell things. But then you've got the relaxing part, which is so important for our bodies, especially if you're carrying stress or anxiety because of the pandemic or your business. Let's face it, being an entrepreneur can be stressful.
Yes.
But again, you can choose to either have those stressful thoughts, or you can choose to say, what can I do to unwind for a minute and really just get my mind in balance? And a lot of times it's taking care of yourself, and that's for men and women.
Yes.
To be able to go and just unplug for a minute and
Yes.
get your body in a good place and feel relaxed, and then you can come out feeling like a whole new woman or a whole new man.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, absolutely. There's a piece of that you're talking about when it comes to resetting and self-care, and a lot of the guests recently have shared that. As that could be asked from an audience. Wow, you do so many incredible things. How are you able to do that? And I was like, even for myself, is that I came to an equilibrium of also self-care for myself.
Yeah.
Because I noticed I do have to, like, I've been working on a project for 16 hours straight for
Yeah.
5 days straight. I'm like, all right, I need to actually walk away for a bit.
You'll
take a
burn out.
Yeah.
And, I'm one of those that's like a charged person too. I mean, I work like a rhino. I'll just keep going until I burn out. And I learned over the years, again, that I have to have a Sabbath day. I have to have a day of rest. And really, I have to have a day that I unplug from everything, whether it's the phone text or the emails, everything, and I'll just cut it off. And it's, again, you being in control of what you can control, which is that, giving yourself a day of rest and just clear your mind. And then you're able to kind of reboot.
Yes.
And it's a wonderful feeling to be able to reboot and go, okay, I'm in a greater mindset. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
It helps.
Yes, it does. It does. It sure does. Especially when you're serving a community or team or such too. They'll look at that leader and be like, all right, he seems to be stringing us, and they'll think that it's okay to do that too.
Yes.
You also want to send a
You
message.
set an example.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And we talked about that too. On some of the previous guests. Do you see yourself? It may not be even by intention.
Yeah.
But I can say honestly, there might be an audience that's looking at you and say, wow, that could be a role model. She could be younger than me or older than me or a female or whichever. And say, you know what? She's authentic. She's transparent. I need to, maybe not exactly Heather, but have a role model like that. What do you say to that kind of audience or someone that's aspiring towards greatness? Or
Yeah, I've had people that have told me that I have inspired them, and it's an honor when someone says that I've done something that have inspired them to be a better person or to take care of themselves, or even with fashion. I've had people say, "Oh my gosh, you inspired my fashion look. Do you mind if I swipe that from me?" And I'm like, "No." I mean, to be able to be a person that inspires other people is a great thing. Again, I want to leave a legacy of people that remember me for the good things, not for bad things. And oftentimes people are just on autopilot in their life and they don't think about what legacy are you leaving behind. So if I can make a difference in someone's life, if I can encourage them, if I can give them some motivation or inspiration, then I've done what I've been put on this earth to do. And I want everybody to be able to do that. I want everybody to thrive, everybody to rise, and when you collaborate, everybody wins. So, it's removing the competition and just not blending in, because you need to be able to stand out in your own way, but not to where you're dimming anybody else's light. You're shining and you're helping other people shine too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. I mean, okay, every show I say this, so I'm going to say it on this show again. You need to roll this back and repeat and listen to what she said, maybe even write it down.
Yeah.
Because it's extremely helpful. It may sound like maybe I don't want to say it's cliche. Like you may have heard this before, but it's very important to have that piece, to coalesce all these pieces together. If you're wondering how does somebody do so many multiple things, it's because of everything that Heather is sharing right now. It seriously is.
Yeah.
And that's a huge piece of getting your business success to where you want to be. Maybe there's a season for things. Maybe there's parts of your life that you need to filter through.
Yeah.
Maybe there's an understanding that you need to build up a community before before yourself. And also,
Absolutely. Yeah. And you shouldn't feel jealous of anybody else winning. You should feel inspired by that. Like, I don't get jealous of other people. I get inspired by them. And I look at them and cheer them on. Like, I have friends that are winning, and sometimes they're going to be winning when you're not winning in your season, and that's okay too. But when you're whole, again, when you are confident in yourself and know what you bring to the table, no one else is going to intimidate you because you're confident and solid in your own self and your own giftings. And you've got your own destiny. Each of us have our own destiny. No one can take mine from me. No one can take yours from you. But we can always work together and help each other rise rather than trying to step on each other's toes or feel insecure or inferior to someone else. It's no one's better than the other person. We all have different gifts. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That's incredible. And I think everybody in this audience know that you have gifts. You have things that you bring to the world that are valuable. You're in this group. You want to be part of this community, and we're here for you to be of service to you, this audience. And also too, I notice everybody that I bring on the show, you just definitely have that servant leader kind of mentality. I love that.
Thank you. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's something I've grown into. Again, I was not always this person. It's evolving over the years and learning from the hard things and learning from the good and the bad and the ugly, and just kind of there's no other you than you.
Yes.
So you've got to be the best, most authentic you that you can be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. So, Heather Marie, motivational speaker, business owner, singer, farmer.
But not a baker. I
Yeah.
don't bake.
Oh my goodness. There's so many things, and then you know your limits.
Yes,
Like
I do.
bacon's not. What did you say? Bacon and snakes. Bacon and snakes. Keep that away from me.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. Years ago when I was younger, I wanted to be a veterinarian, but I
Uh-huh.
loved all the fluffy animals. I don't like
Yes.
the reptiles. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, maybe that's not something I want to do. And of course, baking. I don't enjoy baking, so
Yeah.
I leave that to the
Yeah.
other. That's the
Yeah.
cool thing about Queen Bee and Company is it's
Okay.
a hospitality collaborative.
Okay.
So I want to help other female and male entrepreneurs, but I focus on empowering other women that are in the hospitality industry that have strengths that I don't have, that I can help them grow their business too. So when I opened the tea room and rebranded it, I told other women in the Boss Babes group, what do you do that's in the hospitality? Do you make things? Do you bake? Do you have services that you offer?
Yeah.
Come contact me. I want to help you rise too. So Maggie's Cupcakes is actually the baker that brings in her baked goods once a week to the tea room.
Yes.
And I help sell her products. And I've got somebody that makes candles and I help sell their products. Somebody that does event planning, I help sell their services. So it's, again, working together and helping other people rise that have different strengths than I have.
Yeah.
But it's, shining a light on their services too.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's also too, I think, celebrating other people that have abilities that maybe like I don't have. Like, for example, there's so many other things I can't paint to save my life. I've been talking about like art paintry, and
Yeah.
I might be able to paint a wall, but it's been a decade or so.
Right.
So, but there's other people that skills and talents, and when you celebrate those, you
Yeah.
created that environment, a community of enjoyment in the process.
Celebrating each other. Absolutely. 1,000,000%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, so where can we follow you?
So I'm at heathermariespeaks.com. I tell people Speaks is not my last name, it's just what I do. They can also follow me at Heather Marie Speaks on Instagram, the Heather Marie Speaks page on Facebook, and Queen Bee and Company Richmond for the tea room. And you also see me on RVA Fashion Week, VA Style Magazine. You'll see me connected with all kinds of different things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully GritCon too as well.
Absolutely. I'm excited about 2021 with GritCon too.
Wonderful. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for joining us on this episode, and we will see you next time on GritCon Expandcast.
See ya.